There was a point in my career when I believed that the next step depended on one decision, and that was a promotion. I knew that I had worked hard, and someone would recognize my value and choose me, right? Well, newsflash, they didn't. And looking back, I can honestly tell you that being passed over was one of the most important moments of my career because it forced me to ask a question that up until that point I hadn't even considered. What if I never get selected? And yeah, believe me, that was an uncomfortable question to ask myself, but really it led me to an even better one. What if I stopped asking other people to decide the direction of my career? That's what changed everything. And if that sounds like your experience, then you'll definitely want to stick around because today we're talking about why waiting to be chosen can really work against you and what you can do to overcome it. Welcome to Crossroads and Catalyst. I'm your host, Shanita B. This is where we explore how a thoughtful, wise, and strategic perspective at life's crossroads can become the catalyst for meaningful change in your leadership and the direction of your life. I'm curious about how many of you have waited for your contributions to be not simply acknowledged, but rewarded. And I want to make sure that we're clear because when I say rewarded, I actually mean the promotion. I'm not just talking about money because it's easy for a company to offer you a bonus and keep you in the same position, right? So when you hand someone else responsibility for your next opportunity, you're also handing them control over your timeline. And I'm sure that you have already considered where you want to be, how you want to get there, and how long you anticipate that it's going to take you. And so when you rely upon other people to make the decision about how far you can go and when, well, then you've given them control and your timeline is completely up to somebody else. And so what happens is you end up waiting on promises that never materialize. And you're hoping that someone notices your work. Or you might even be believing that your career can't move until someone else says yes. And so while organizations absolutely influence our careers, they should never be the only force that's shaping your career. This is solely up to you. Okay. So by the end of today's episode, you're going to understand why waiting to be chosen can quietly stall your career, how to recognize when you've handed it over to someone else, and how you can work to get the pen back so that you can write the next chapter, not someone else. Okay. And so doing all of that is going to require you to take some action. And this is why we're going to be doing Act First, Confidence Follows, a masterclass. Okay. This is going to equip you with what you need to take action without relying upon feeling ready or confident. All right. It's happening soon. So make sure that you reserve your spot and you'll find the link in the show notes. And while it's on my mind, be sure to check out the link for the What's Next Crossroads guide. This is going to help you get some clarity and make some confident decisions. And if you're not working with a mentor or a coach, I actually think that this is the next best thing because it gives you some guided prompts so that you can think through your specific situation. So be sure to check that out. Okay, so the crossroads that we're talking about today is not simply getting passed over for a promotion. This is really the moment that you realize that you have done everything that you were told to do. And by that, I mean you've worked hard. You've exceeded all expectations. You've earned excellent performance reviews. And the problem is nothing has changed. The needle has hardly moved, if it's moved at all. And that's when the questions should start, right? And maybe you're asking yourself, well, am I missing something? Yeah, you might be depending on the context. And then you're also asking some of these other questions like am I not as capable as I thought, or should I just keep waiting? And you're trying to really understand what's taking place. And this is where we have to step back so that we can get clear on what is actually happening. Okay, because having personally experienced this, I can attest to the dissonance that this causes. It does not always come down to the quality of the work that you do or even how consistently your performance reviews are. What it comes down to is there's a misalignment between your goals and the organization's goals. Okay. Organizations don't make promotion decisions based solely on your goals. Your goals might not even make the cut as to reasons to consider whether or not to proceed with a particular decision. They make them based on business priorities. They do them based on their timing, their succession plans, their budgets and leadership needs. And lest we not forget the organizational politics that play into this, your performance, again, it might not even make the cut. Now, your goals do matter, but they matter deeply to you. And this is what I want you to recognize. But they are not the only goals influencing the decision. Okay. Once I understood that, I stopped interpreting not yet as not good enough because it really didn't have anything to do with with me and my quality of work. There are other things that at play that you might not be privy to and you may not understand, but this is what is happening in the background. Okay. So now you're finding that you're standing with the choice that you have to make. Okay. You can either continue waiting, and by that, you can wait on someone to notice your work. You can wait on someone to acknowledge that there's a timeline that you want to move on. You can wait until the time is right, or you can wait for another promise. And maybe it's one of those things. Well, next year, we'll be through this financial challenge that we're experiencing as an organization, or now is just not the right time. Or you can decide that your career deserves more than hope. Okay, because believe me when I tell you, hope is not a strategy, and the hopium that they give out, it's going to keep you lethargic and inactive if you choose to continue to wait on something that may not ever happen. Or it may happen for other people right before your eyes. And it may not necessarily be that it's personal. Again, there are other agendas at play. Okay. So you have to take this, you have to go, it's not just an assumption. Okay. And it has to be more than silence. Ask yourself, what do you really want? Do you want a promotion? Do you want greater influence, meaningful work? Do you want more flexibility? Do you want to be a leader? Or do you just simply want to know that your growth is not dependent on one other person's opinion? Because until you know what exactly it is that you're trying to create, every opportunity is going to look like the right one or even the wrong one. Because if you're not clear, you're not going to know which one is the right one for your situation. And I can tell you that for me, it was knowing that I was the one who was in control. I needed to be able to chart my course for my career, right? And I know that sometimes these are not easy questions, especially depending on where we are in our careers, because sometimes it might feel like it's never going to happen, or I've been working so hard and my work is not being acknowledged, or maybe it is being acknowledged, but it's not being acknowledged in a way that you find satisfactory. And so, if these questions are really difficult for you to answer, that's exactly why I created the What's Next Crossroads Guide, because we do need to really sit down and think about some particular questions to help us to understand where we are and what it is that we want to do next. Okay, it's designed specifically for these types of moments when you're going through some major changes like this and you're really not sure what you want to do. So rather than reacting to the disappointment, it's going to help you to think strategically about what is next. All right. And so once you've decided to take ownership of your direction, here are three things that you can do to get started. Number one is you can make your aspirations known. I do not want you to assume that good work speaks for itself because it doesn't. Okay. Your leader cannot advocate for a goal that they do not know that you have. And I don't want you to think, well, they should already know. Because once you start going down that should have path, you put yourself in a bad way. And then you start thinking about other people in a bad way, which is not good for anyone. You have to verbalize what it is that you want to do because people are busy. They are working, they are doing what they can, and your goals again are not at the top of the list for other people. And number 2, ask what is required, not whether you're ready. Okay? It's because a lot of times it doesn't really have anything to do with your readiness. So instead of asking, am I ready? Ask, what experience will prepare me for the next level? That is a question that leaders ask. And if that's how you want to be seen, then that's how you want to go in to the conversation. And so the third thing that you can do is you can build your career beyond one organization. And listen to me when I say this. This is not necessarily about leaving the organization where you are. And I'm not saying that you should take it off the table, but I'm saying that this is not the overall point that I'm trying to make. What this means is you have to expand your network, okay? Develop your expertise. Speak to other people and mentor. Maybe you need to earn some certifications and create your own opportunities. And another thing that you definitely have to do, you have to increase your visibility. And I did an episode about this a couple of weeks ago, and I'll be sure to leave it in the notes. But when I talk about building your career beyond one organization, other people have to know that you exist, and they have to know what it is that you do and what you bring. And once you start making those connections with other people, you will likely see that other opportunities will avail themselves to you because now people have an awareness about who you are and what you do. This is really important for you to do. Okay. That way, one person's no, it never becomes your only path to promotion and growth. You do not want to leave your career up to someone else because it may end up being limited by that other person, and it may not necessarily be by their design to do so. You might be so effective at your work that they want to keep you. And sometimes it happens like that. Okay. So you have to have an awareness about this kind of thing. And maybe, maybe you're thinking, well, I know I need to have these conversations, but I'm nervous. Well, okay. You're not alone in that because a lot of people are nervous about these kind of things because you're hesitant. You're not really sure how to navigate these kind of things. And that's one of the other reasons why I'm doing a masterclass. Act first, confidence follows, because confidence is not often what shows up before you have a conversation, especially one that you feel is rather heavy or that you think a lot is riding on that conversation. It usually arrives after you've had it because now you have hindsight review and you can go back and see, oh, I did that and I handled it well, or I kept my composure. The moment I stopped waiting to be chosen was not the moment that my career changed. It was the moment that I changed how I approached my career. And that I think that that's going to be the same thing for you because you may never be chosen for the opportunity that you're hoping for. I wasn't, but that didn't mean that my leadership journey ended there. And it doesn't mean that for you either. Okay. Sometimes the crossroads is not the promotion that you didn't get. It's really the moment that you realize that your future was never meant to hinge on one decision made by someone else. Okay. From that moment on, you stop waiting to be chosen and you start choosing the direction of your own career. It is completely up to you. You have to take responsibility and accountability for the direction of your career. And it's not going to be easy. I don't want to sugarcoat anything. Making these types of decisions, those are not easy things to do. Others may or may not choose you, but you have the opportunity to choose your next step. And so you have to take it and you have to own it and you have to run with that. And you do it one small step at a time. I don't want you to look at this and think, oh, I could never do that, because you can. It's just going to be, how badly do you want it? That's what it's going to come down to. How badly do you want it? Okay, so I want you to sit down and think about this, download that guide that's in the link, and sign up for the Act First, Confidence Follows Masterclass, because that's going to be taking place very soon. And you do not want to miss that. We're going to talk about things more in depth that will help you navigate these situations where you feel like you have to have confidence in order to proceed. And we're going to talk about why confidence is not at the top of the list of things that you have to have in order to take the next step. All right. So this was a lot packed into a short period of time, but I'm glad that we talked about it because you should choose yourself and you should not feel any hesitation or guilt about doing that, because this is your career. This is your livelihood. You have aspirations and goals and objectives that you want to meet personally and professionally. And maybe that bleeds over into your family life and your personal life, and as to what you want that to look like. And maybe a lot of that hinges on the type of work that you do and when you do it. So this is why it's important to choose yourself now and don't become complacent. Okay. So thank you. This has been a good conversation. And before we close, I just want to give a shout out to all of my listeners. Thank you so much for continuing to support me. Um, I love especially seeing that not only do I have listeners all over the United States, but I have listeners all over the world. And so while I'm a citizen of the US, I'm a student of the world because I love to visit other countries. I love to travel. And I am elated knowing that there are people tuning in from all over, and destinations like Singapore and Japan and Dubai and Thailand, all of these places that I visited. And there are some others that I haven't yet visited, which I hope to one day soon. Germany and China. And so these are some really cool places. So I would love for you to send me a message and let me know where you're listening from. Okay, you can leave a voice note or send an email directly from my website, crossroadsandcatalyst.com. And while you're there, share with me some of your leadership stories, some of what drew you in to listening to the podcast, because that's going to help me continue to create content that will be helpful to you and other listeners. All right. So thank you so much. And until next time, be thoughtful, be wise, be strategic. And remember, crossroads reveal who you are, catalysts shape who you become. Every decision matters, so make it count. I'll talk to you next week.